In the headlines, leader of the opposition told to bring sustainable and realistic alternatives to the table. Minister for Health and Social Services calls on those who witness child abuse to speak up. And affordable options and prizes for Flow customers this Christmas. I am Andrea Louis with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, a call by Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit for the leader of the opposition to start taking his duties seriously and bring sustainable and realistic alternatives to the table.
Mr. Skerrit says Dominica can ill afford the opposition leader's reckless approach, calling his request for a $500 EC dollar pension for public servants reprehensible. In a statement released on Tuesday, the Prime Minister, who is also Minister for Finance, said such a proposal would jeopardize the pensions of the current workforce and hinder the ongoing development and diversification of the economy. Mr. Skerrit says increasing pensions recklessly could place the fund's future in peril.
Contrary to what the leader of the opposition seems to think, pension rates are not plucked from the sky. They arrived at after careful analysis by actuaries. Actuarial science is not to be confused with political mischief making. The sustainability of the Dominica Social Security is predicated on a prudent and responsible management of the finances of the DSS. And any decision that is not supported by the actuarial science will run into difficulties and will cause serious difficulty for those who are now receiving a pension. So before a pension can be disbursed, every single cent of it has to be studied and evaluated against the reality of its likely impact on the fund down the road.
The Prime Minister says the opposition leader's request betrays his lack of understanding of how the system works.
We must not forget as a country that it is the very same United Workers' Party which almost bankrupted the DSS by not remitting to the DSS funds due to it by law, and also the mismanagement of investments by the DSS, proposed by the United Workers' Party at the time. So the leader of the opposition's lack of a feasible ideology and vision for Dominica is clear to all. His utterances prove that he nor his advisors have assessed the projected trends of aging in Dominica and the impact this proposal will have on them in 5, 10, 20, and 25 years. As I outlined in my Independence Day address, the journey to 50 years has already begun. And for the sake of the country, we need all hands on deck to achieve the targets we have set for ourselves.
500 EC was the minimum that the UWP proposed for public pensioners in its 2018-2019 budget rebuttal.
In other top stories, the Public Service Union met with the executive of the Dominican Nurses Association on Tuesday to formulate a draft proposal to government to resolve transportation issues affecting nurses.
Effective Monday this week, a provision to facilitate transportation for nurses following Hurricane Maria was terminated. The cessation of transportation of nurses to and from work post-Hurricane Maria was announced in a memo from Hospital Services Coordinator Clayton Bryan. The decision came out of a hospital management team meeting held in consultation with the Permanent Secretary for Health and Social Services on the 15th of November. The memo was released the same day. The memo states that based on the improvements made with road access and lighting, the challenges posed to nurses post-Maria no longer exist.
Although it may have come about following the passage of Hurricane Maria, one would have thought that whatever arrangement is there, that efforts would be being made. They would be making efforts to improve on that kind of assistance rather than discontinuing it. So what the union has done, what we have done is that we have written to the permanent secretary. She has not received the letter because we were discussing it this morning, but I prepared a letter since yesterday and saying that we are expressing our disappointment and saying that instead of discontinuing it, that we would want some improvement to be made to that. We have also discussed, this whole question of the safety of nurses after work, and since we have prepared a draft proposal to the government, we have also included in that draft proposal how the transportation arrangement for nurses can be addressed. We are hoping to have a general meeting next week, Thursday, to discuss with our general membership the proposal that we have prepared and to get from them, although we have received some proposals, some suggestions rather, from them, to get additional suggestions from them as to what we should be negotiating.
Later says this latest action is inconsistent with the tone of a recent meeting with the Minister for Health. He says the termination of transportation assistance for nurses makes that last meeting look like a pacifier. Later is hinting that the union could resort to some kind of action, but stop short of spelling out what exactly that action might be.
I believe the management of the trade union, the executive of the trade union, and myself as General Secretary, we are just getting fed up with all this back and forth, and we are saying that something needs to be done, and some things need to be done once and for all. And we will have to use whatever that is available within us that we can use to make sure that our message is heard, and that whatever action we have to take, that we will take it. Because those things, the issues affecting these nurses have been going on for too long. And we have meetings, we are told that certain things will be done, and instead of these things happening, you find that they just get worse.
In more developments, strong condemnation of child abuse by Minister for Health and Social Services, Honorable Kenneth Daru.
In his address marking Universal Children's Day on Tuesday, Mr. Daru made the point that there were serious psychological and social consequences to child abuse on the abused themselves, the families, and wider society. He said child abuse reduces self-worth and seriously hinders child development.
We should be aware that there is definitely no justification for the abuse of children. I repeat, no excuse whatsoever. And it is indeed unfortunate that child abuse is still rampant around the globe and is even rearing its ugly head here in Dominica, and this I strongly condemn.
The health minister has called out those who have witnessed child abuse and choose to remain silent.
Children are expected to be loved, guided, and protected, and as a society, we should not fail them. And we must remember that we all have an obligation to prevent violence against our children. Unfortunately, there are lots of cases of child abuse that go largely unreported. Hiding, condoning, and enabling the abuse of our children is a serious problem, and it cannot be allowed to continue. I call upon you to examine your hearts and consciences and see whether what you're doing for your children is what God has called you to do. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica takes this problem of violence against children very seriously, And efforts are ongoing through the Social Welfare Division, Child Abuse Prevention Unit of the Ministry of Health and Social Services to ensure that the rights and responsibilities of children are respected and preserved here in Dominica, and that the needs of our vulnerable children are met.
The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child was adopted in November 1989 and came into effect in September 1990. Dominica ratified the treaty the following year.
Flow Dominica launched its Christmas campaign on Tuesday afternoon, offering customers fantastic offers and Christmas delights. And there is something for everyone. For new and existing postpaid customers, free evenings and weekends on net fixed and mobile. Get the Samsung J4 at $399 with a large combo plan. Weekends run from 12 a.m. Saturday to 11:55 p.m. on Sunday. Evenings run from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next morning. Prepaid customers will have triple data Tuesdays and Sundays. You get triple data on any combo plan, free WhatsApp features, voice, chat, video, file transfers on activation of the large and triple extra large combo plan. You also get the Samsung A1 at $199 with activation of an extra large combo plan. Broadband and Flow Evo customers are not left out. Free installation plus 40% off on broadband for 2 months when you sign up for combined broadband and TV. Every week, one lucky Flow customer will win a food hamper, while another customer will win $500 weekly. That's not all. There will be a grand prize of a 55-inch smart TV, 1 year free service, and 6 months free service. To qualify, customers need to activate any combo plan and sign up for any service. The campaign runs until 31st December. You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fence pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Welcome back. A study on the migration patterns of Dominicans post-Hurricane Maria is due to get underway as early as next month. Following Hurricane Maria, hundreds of Dominicans left the country for numerous reasons, and while some have returned, others have not. The International Organization for Migration, IOM, will be undertaking a study on the migration of Dominicans since the hurricane.
Yeah, we get the question quite often, and a lot of people are interested, like how many people moved and how many people came back. IOM has a methodology which we call the displacement tracking matrix, which is a structured approach to follow or to measure or to do these kind of surveys. We do the same, for instance, around Venezuela, where a lot of people are moving. Now it's 1 year after, so it's slightly different. But how we are going to work is that we're going to focus, we're going to interview key stakeholders. And our first approach is that we go to all the schools in Dominica and ask the teachers how many of your students left Dominica and how many came back. And then we can also, then we probably also go to priests, maybe community leaders, maybe parliamentary representatives, people that know a lot about the community. If we have that, then we can extrapolate that among the country.
Wegdam says there will be special emphasis on children and their status 1 year after Hurricane Maria.
We're doing this together with the Caribbean Development Bank and the Ministry of Planning, and they ask us to focus mainly or to special focus on children. Where, how many children left and where did they go, or are they still outside the island? If so, if we can get some indication how they are. So we expect, but we don't know, that if there are a lot of the children that left are probably in St. Lucia or in the surrounding islands, and then we will try to call schools there. Do you have children from Dominica? We're not interested in names or something, but we want to see, hey, are they okay? Are they planning to stay longer? And then feed that back as well.
The IOM will also be working closely with the air and seaports to gather information to be used in this exercise.
Part of the survey is also that we're going to do a review of the border management systems. That is basically if you go through the airport, you have the security officials and people that stamping your passport to see how the rules and the procedures are there. And IOM is specialists in that, and we just want to see if we can support by making that or securing that everything is fine.
The study on the migration of Dominicans is expected to be completed within 6 weeks. The People's Republic of China has renewed its commitment to help Dominica become the first climate-resilient nation in the world. The PRC's ambassador to Dominica, His Excellency Lu Kun, says the climate change is a global issue and the countries must unite to combat this phenomenon.
Climate change is a challenge to all humanity, which calls for international cooperation. The Chinese government and the people will always stand with Dominic and do our best to help Dominic build the first climate-resilient country in the world.
On the topic of the new national hospital, Ambassador Kun says greater reinforcements will be added to ensure the new structure can withstand severe weather events.
We will add concrete roofs and hurricane-proof doors and windows for the China Aid new national hospital. Actually, the first complete buildings of the new national hospital, the roofs is not concrete, but also the roofs of these two buildings stand the test of the Hurricane Maria. It's no damage at all. So even that, we will, in the future, all the buildings in the hospital will change it into concrete roofs.
The ambassador pointed out that China has already constructed climate-resilient structures in Dominica, namely the Newtown Primary School and the York Valley Bridge. He says the PRC looks forward to continuing this trend with the Iulibla Highway.
In addition, with regard to the West Coast Road Rehabilitation Project, the modern laboratory for the test of the hardness, strength, and the water seepage condition of the cement, concrete, and other materials has been established. So we, concerning the West Coast Road, we have a very, very scientific and comprehensive study for all the concrete and all the cements. Moreover, in order to increase the flood resistance capacity of the bridges, the foundation piles of the bridge will go deep into 20 meters. So, and 1.5 meters in diameter will be built for the piles and the stakes of the bridge. So after the completion of the bridge, even all the roads washed away, I think the bridge will stay there.
And forestry officials want to see greater consideration for the country's wildlife during this Build Back Better era. Following first the tropical storm Erica in 2015 and then Hurricane Maria in 2017, the country has been on a campaign to build back better and with more resilience. The country's wildlife population diminished noticeably after Hurricane Maria, and Assistant Forest Officer with responsibility for the protection and the conservation of Dominica's flora and fauna, Francisco Maffei, while commending the Build Back Better campaign, believes more thought should be given to wildlife survival in this new period.
We realize there's a decrease, and a lot of things may have caused that. We have, number one, the hurricanes, the bad weather. We have a lot of degradation with the landslides, etc., destroying their homes. And even a simple thing, the method of how we construct our roads as well. Sometimes we could give it some spacing or a hole or something for the crabs to grip so that they could climb and get into the sea. So when the roads have some high walls, I mean, we're resilient, we are fighting climate change, etc. But we could maybe put some grips on it, or a little hole or a little outlet for the crabs to go and wash out their eggs.
Due to the hurricane's impact, wildlife are now more visible on farmers' holdings. With the population already diminished and more vulnerable, Marpin is asking farmers to understand the situation with the wildlife and not take any drastic action against them.
A lot of farmers are complaining, which I understand and I'm awfully sorry. They are complaining about their crops, but their actual habitat where they live, within the reserves, in the national parks, right up, these wildlife, the entire food source was compromised. So because of that, they have to move. So they're moving from point A to point B in looking for food. And that's what anyone would do.
The Assistant Forest Officer says the division is implementing a reforestation action plan to restore some more balance to the country's recovering ecosystem.
We're going to reforest certain areas on island, certain areas where we realize that needs some form of land stabilization. And we want to strengthen our riverbanks as well, our forest reserves. That is where we had plants before in the past, as valuable timber species like mahogany, kubawe, blue maho, this type of species. We want to always have a source of good local trees on island. And our Stewart Hall water catchment, we want to really improve on the amount of species of trees that are there for the different purposes. We need to maintain our water quality and quantity on island.
To end the news, the headlines again. The leader of the opposition told to bring realistic and sustainable alternative to the table. Minister for Health and Social Services calls on those who witness child abuse to speak up, and affordable prices and options for Flow customers this Christmas. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.